Hello and welcome to the Mystic Cast, where you join me, Jack Stafford, and Deborah Littleboy, members of the Aetherius Society, the cosmic religion for the Aquarian Age, as we break down the barriers between religion, science, metaphysics, philosophy, and mysticism, all of which are really only aspects of the self-same quest for truth. Please note, this is an independent program, not produced or fact-checked by the Aetherius Society. Today, our guest is Carol Obley. Hi, Carol, how you doing?
Good. Nice to be here.
Nice to be here. Here is where? Where are you in the world?
I am in the U.S. I'm near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Ah, I'm in Italy. Deborah's in England.
Well, I'm in south of England, Kent, almost France.
And we came. How did we come across you, Deborah? How did we come across Carol?
No, I don't know, but you struck me as somebody that really cared. I can't remember which publication. It might have been. Were you on
Coast to Coast Radio?
Yeah. Was it Coast to Coast?
It
Yeah.
was.
You struck me as somebody that really cared. The caring aspect was what took me, and that's why I went to find you on Facebook. If you might, I became a follower of you on Facebook. I thought I really want to know what this lady is talking about. And the first thing I saw, Carol, when I went onto your Facebook, was the what I saw as a violet flame, so the cleansing flame from the Mother Earth. And of course, that is so dear to my heart. I use the violet flame at least twice a day before my practices to clean my auras, etc. And when I saw that, I thought I knew that we were on the same vibration, if you want, although maybe treading a different pathway. But yeah, so it was the kindness that I felt in my heart when more than what you might have said, because I actually can't remember what you said, but I knew that I wanted to pursue you to find out who you are and what you stand for. So a bit of a long talk for that, but that's it.
I've been using the violet flame for quite some time. As you may know, it's connected too with the beloved Ascended Master Saint Germain. So I, from the time I was really young, I would see kind of these flecks of violet, through clairvoyance. Didn't really understand it, didn't know what that meant. And when I created what you saw on my Facebook page was the drawing that I used on the cover of a 3 CD set for spiritual development. And I found that image. It wasn't copywritten, on the internet. And it really spoke to me, particularly with the color, but the meaning of it. Because the meaning of, as I'm sure you know, the meaning of the flame is transmutation, transformation. And particularly with the Ascended Master, Saint Germain, he works with the 7th ray of consciousness, which is which are the gifts of healing and prophecy. And the violet flame is, yes, you can bring it down over top of the aura to really transform or transmute anything that's really of a denser vibration and that you don't want to carry.
Have you been able to contact Saint Germain?
Have I been able to? Well, not directly, but I know that he is working with me, and I'll tell you how I know that. For many years, and I've been really doing mediumship for about 30 years now, I would see clairvoyantly these flecks of violet, in the brow chakra or energy center. And I didn't really know what that was. And then I was drawn to study about Saint Germain's life, in the 16th century, with King Louis, I believe the King Louis the 14th. So, I mean, there was a real Saint Germain.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, for that king, he was given a diamond and he was told to purify it and to get rid of the impurities in it. And he did, and he brought it back to the king, and it was this very, very pure diamond. So, I've studied a lot about him, but I know that I work with him because a large part of my work is it's definitely healing based, but it's also with helping people to move across the bridge of transition. And I see behind you, Jack, there is a flame on the wall. I just now saw it.
That's the Mother Earth. That's a part of the incarnation of the Mother Earth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is where the violet flame comes from.
Mm.
Yes.
Because we were given, in the society, we were given the practice of the violet flame from the Master Aetherius, of which the society is named. And we use that practice before we do our mantra or our praying or channeling any energy to clear the dross out of our aura, out of our auric field, so that we can be a better transmitter receiver. A receiver transmitter. So the energy that comes through and out is as good as this physical body can give. So as I say, it's for me, it's the very basics of everything that I believe in and use in a practical sense to make myself as pure a channel as possible. It's very interesting, isn't it? And it's interesting that you actually bring the flame down. Well, we always bring it up through our feet. So we have that shape which is behind Jack, as a wire 30, 40 feet above our heads, because we're told again that is actually how big our all our bodies are. One big ovoid shape. So we clean out as much as we possibly can. But for somebody that isn't psychic, I find that is something that's very real for me, and I feel it. Sometimes I see it, and I think that once or twice I might have even tasted it, and it tastes like that child's sweets, the Parma violets. That was the taste I got into my mouth. But yeah, as I say, that's just my perception, but it's very real for me, and I do feel cleaner after using it. So yeah, it's just fabulous practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that the color violet is associated with that crown chakra, at the top of the head. So, and incidentally, I got my instructions with the bringing down, and there's a whole bunch of these exercises. And I haven't checked in on this organization lately, but there was a Saint Germain Foundation in Schaumburg, Illinois. And I actually ordered a laminated drawing of Saint Germain and from them. And they used to have a lending library. And I can't even believe that they did this, but they would mail out, some of the books and the exercises working, the incantations, working with the flame. They would ship them to you, I guess, for free, and you could use them and then return them. So it was kind of an honor system. And it's working with the I am, the affirmation of the I am, whatever quality you put after the am is what you want to imbue yourself with. what you want to take on, what you want to resonate with.
Mm. Okay. Well, with these interviews, we try and focus on one particular area, just because you're such an interesting lady. So many, such a broad experience of your many years in this incarnation. And what we could focus on today would be, how can we best serve as an individual, communities, in the world? Because that's something we already came across in your work. Is that, as Deborah said, this heartfelt, compassionate approach, and with your insights into the spirit world, we're here to serve. And how can we be best of service? I guess it's different. Depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah, I'm always astounded. I'm kind of smiling inwardly because I'm currently writing my 5th book. And it seems like for the past week, I've attracted, by the law of attraction, one of the natural laws, I've attracted people who are asking me about service from the soul. And that
Mhm.
this next book is about. So thank you. You had no idea, but you know how spirit is amazing as far as synchronicity. So we are all equal in the mind of spirit. And so service comes in many different forms. Um, the commonality of it is coming from the soul, the desire to um, serve and to meet the ends of reunion with the creator. That is one thing that all souls have in common, is to reunite with the divine. And so service brings us, it's on that journey. It's part of that journey. And serving from the heart. I think we all know the difference of doing something from the heart, in comparison or contrast to doing it, going through the motions of it, or doing it from the ego or the head. And in no way, I just want to say too, for any of your listeners, in no way do I ever, ever, ever demonize the ego. We need the ego.
Hmm.
I believe far too much, quote, new age teachings, or, kind of dismiss the ego or demonize it. And that's not the purpose of it. You kind of have to bring the ego along when you're doing connecting with the higher energies.
Be kind to the lower self. It's something Deborah talks about a lot. She has conversations between our higher self and our lower self. And isn't it, Deborah, you're always mentioning this?
Big Deb and Little Deb. Big Deb knows a lot more than Little Deb ever could.
Who are we talking to now?
Well, I'm not quite sure, actually. Probably the one that talks too much. But it is a case of you have to accept where you are, but know that you're far more than this is. Yeah, this is the cross. So I can understand now why I was so attracted towards you, because
It resonates now.
we do resonate. It's lovely to hear. So how do you serve your individual? Sorry, I've just jumped in on Jack's question here, but
waiting for you to ask.
How would you best serve? If I came to you with a problem, how would you start to serve me? So I've come to you, and you're not going to get the whole truth out of me because I don't really know you. That type of thing. How would you deal with somebody that came to you that was obviously troubled and needed help?
Well, first off, as you were just saying, there's the personality me, and then there's the conduit me, which I don't, 30 years later, I still don't understand. I don't understand that part of me that does the work. But it's really a matter of tuning into the soul. And interestingly, Deborah, I'm on the section of the book right now, writing about dialoguing with the soul. So it's kind of interesting, because and you can do this through writing as well. I don't personally do that in sessions that I do, but someone listening to this, if you want to do this at home, it's where you kind of still the conscious mind and you talk with the soul, and it will speak to you much like, I've studied animal mediumship as well. I'm extremely passionate and actually an animal activist, not radical, but I try to be a voice for those who don't have a voice.
Mm.
Um, but it's very simple. The soul will speak to you in very simple terms. And so that's how you know it's not the ego, because the ego tends to complicate things. So when people come for a session, prior to that, I have them write down questions to prepare. And then also, very importantly, before the reading or the session, I ask them to please engage in a spiritual connection, meditation, prayer, stillness, mindfulness, whatever's going to open up that higher awareness or higher consciousness. People who do that get a much cleaner and clearer session than those who don't.
Mm.
So, then it's a matter of, what do you want me to focus on? What are we focused on here? I do a lot more than mediumship. I've done many years of study, in-depth study with astrology, not newspaper astrology, but evolutionary astrology, studying the birth chart to learn the soul's language, what the soul planned for the incarnation. So it can be any of those. Life guidance. I've studied the tarot for many years, the symbolism, the archetypes in the tarot. It's all one.
Hmm.
It's all one. It's a matter of, do you want to call it this or do you want to call it that?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
as long as it's speaking to the soul and to that higher consciousness, then it's that's where the sessions are going. So in my sessions, there's absolutely nothing fear-based. I try to take myself as much as possible, get my ego out of the way. Unless you're doing trance channeling, the ego is always going to be present. I haven't mastered trance channeling. I doubt that's going to happen in this lifetime. Um, but that's sort of the standpoint, and I meditate before every reading so that I can give the very clearest form when I connect with people.
That's wonderful. You're tying it all into service, because I think a lot of people, when they go to consult a medium, can be quite selfish. They're worried about, their own issues or contacting loved ones. Or Dr. King, who met many people who passed on, he was a great medium. He done astral projection as well, and he said that they all wished they'd done more. If only I could go back. If only I could be of service again. I'd do so much more to help. I'd be less selfish, because we're all selfish. But if we could just, go back, and we are here already. So be of service.
Interesting that you mentioned that, Jack, because I am extremely real in all of my interviews and my writing, and that's just the way that that's very important to me, to be truthful and to tell you what's real and tell people what's real and what's not. I've seen many things working in this field of people who are out there that are not real. I'm not saying that from an egoic standpoint, but I feel a responsibility to tell people what is real and what is not, particularly in this field. So one of the things that I've seen, heard from the spirit world, are regrets, from souls who have passed over. because when they get that life review shortly after transition, in the life review, I'm sure you're familiar with this, we see and feel every single bit of what we've done in the previous incarnation. No one is judging us. It's the soul, the transparency of the soul, gauging kind of in my fourth book I wrote, it's a report card of, and we are the ones who give that grade to ourselves. So that being said, there are many souls who have come through and said, I regret doing this. I regret, and a lot of times the communication is very healing in that they're saying directly to the sitter in the reading, I am sorry that I treated you in that manner. I felt what you felt when I said did that or whatever.
You feel it from their perspective, how you made them feel. Yeah.
It's a very deep empathetic. The life review is very empathetic, and that souls will actually feel, because there's no longer a boundary. There's no longer the duality or the separation in the spirit world.
It can be a painful experience. I'm not looking forward to some of those experiences. Yeah.
I've often thought that too, to inject a little bit of humor here. I think, can we just take that out of my Akashic file?
Redact that one, please. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't want to use terms that maybe some listeners aren't familiar with, but the Akashic files, Akashic is from the Sanskrit and it means the ethers. And the Akashic file is simply an energetic storehouse of everything that the soul has done since the beginning of time, whenever that was. I mean, every single thing. It's like a giant tape recorder that is continually running. So now, during this interview, we're all adding to our Akashic file that at some point, in seconds, when we're in the spirit world where there's no time, we'll see that.
I saw the film Astral City quite recently, the Brazilian movie. Are you familiar with that?
Not.
It's it's from one of the biggest religions in Brazil is I've forgotten the name. The spiritualism or something like that. And there's a movie about what it's like on the other realms and how there are different stratas. And, we all go to the realm of, our just desserts, and we experience the life there in a physical body. You're not spirit, you're not floating around in as an ovoid. You still have arms and legs and you're in spirit world, but it's just as physical for you as here. And that really helped me to understand, seeing a movie about it.
I put that on my viewing list for sure. Just one point that you mentioned, that I have started commenting to people, the spirit world, and I've always known this, it's not out there somewhere. It's right here. It's all around us. It's like, waves are hitting us right now of electromagnetic frequencies or television, radio, whatever. It's not, it's a matter of raising your awareness to be able to receive it. And it's actually more real and more alive than we are here.
Wow.
I've communicated with so many souls, and they'll say, some of them will just say, why are they so sad? Why is my family sad? I'm still very much alive. I'm right here. I'm right beside them. And they will give evidence to, things, my being on the telephone, because that's how all my readings are done, or through Zoom. Most of them are on the phone. How would I know that object or that is right there? This happened yesterday, and I'll say, you have this right there. And the person goes, yeah, I do. But the spirit from the spirit person was telling me to say, I'm aware that you have that right there. And so it's their way of saying, I haven't gone away. I'm here. I don't have the solid form anymore.
that fits in so well with what we have been told. And the halls of self-judgment, which is the way that we have it in our teachings, is exactly as you've said. That you go there and you see, you're told you have a master that will guide you to see, so that you can see your Akashic record, your what that thing, so that you can then decide when you're going to reincarnate in the family that you're going to so that you can get the lessons that you need to rebalance the transgressions. So it's not, so karma is not a it's not something that you get hit with, like it's you've been bad. No, you've chosen, because you need the the counterbalance of your actions. You need that. So that, as I say, that you've said it in different words, but it's exactly the same.
Yes.
Same thing. And that's why I love this program, Jack, because I believe that people get hung up on different words. But actually, when you boil it down, the similarity is there. It's the same stuff. And the more that we realize that when people are speaking the truth, they might use different words from a different perspective, but it's the same stuff. So as I say, that's really nice for me to be able to line up with you on that. And I can see how your work with the other realms would help people on this realm to come to terms with perhaps things that they have done and said, which they maybe regret. And if they have their relation come through, there is some sort of balancing that they can carry on with their life here.
That's an excellent point. We cannot move on in either realm, the earth plane or the spirit realms, when there's unfinished business. That we can't do that. And when I wrote my second book, I'm Still With You, True Stories of Healing Grief Through Spirit Communication, I wrote about what my experience, what I had seen, what I continue to see from the spirit world. And one of the things I wrote about was that there are counselors there. There are counselors, there are schoolrooms, there are healers. Those are different. That's a whole another topic with spirit teams and spirit guidance with areas of specialty. But there is counseling available for people, just as there is here. We can go to a counselor to get help, psychological help, to get insights. There are counselors, and I've actually met a few of them. They exist, and they are from the larger group of souls, that I call the healers. There are different rays, or the ray really means from the divine, or from the logos, that ray of consciousness. So the healers they act as counselors. And I've actually seen, and they're very compassionate. You can feel clairsentiently, you can feel the compassion radiating from them. And and I think it's important also, I just wanted to add to what Jack had said earlier about service, because that is essential to working in the fields that we're in. Everybody, every human being here has purpose, and there is no one purpose that is more important in the mind of the divine than another. Whether you're a banker or a doctor or a medium or an educator, it doesn't matter. It's all part of the divine plan. and that no one can take your place in the mind of God. Nobody. I use those words interchangeably. I think the word God has been misused or overused, so I usually say spirit or the divine. But nobody can take our part in that, and that's where our problems lie, as in the world. I mean, you know, there's so much chaos at this current time, and so much division, and it's just it's so discouraging at times and disheartening. Um, if we can each contribute in just making people aware that we're all equal, we're all valuable. Um, the division is an illusion.
Mm. Yeah, they must be screaming at you from the spirit world, no? From because they can see they have a bigger picture, and yeah,
I will tell you,
unnecessary suffering.
been given the message that the angelic kingdom, which they have never been here in physical form. I mean, they can take physical form. The same with the masters, but that they're very, very busy now because of what is going on. We're in the midst of a massive transformation. It began in 2020 with just symbolized by the pandemic. Here in the United States, we are going through our Pluto return, Pluto representing the life force itself, Pluto also representing transformation. So we are in the midst of that. It takes.
Is it more people passing over to the other side, or what's the?
I believe so. Pluto itself represents death, physical death, but it's also the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's also the violet flame because it represents transformation. And what we're going through, particularly here in the US, is this massive, and if people are not tuned in and do not understand the higher consciousness, I really feel very blessed, and I'm not setting myself up as superior in that way. I feel that all of us have to be guides for those who don't have the information, and to disseminate it and make it very clear and bring it down to make it accessible so that people can understand what is happening right now. And I know it's worldwide, because countries were founded. We are a relatively young nation compared to Europe and other countries. I mean, we're very young. But that's what we're going through. And unless you really understand that here, there's so much fear. There's so much fear. I mean, there are times, because I'm so sensitive to the environment and to energy, that I can feel it closing in on me, the fear from people, or anger, or confusion. I don't know if you've also noticed that. You probably have.
Well, on a much less subtle level than you, because we're not psychic, but yeah, I mean, it's just born of ignorance as well. That's the bravery is the first freedom in the society, which was founded by Saint Guling, who is the what would you say, the founder of the Great White the leader of the Great White Brotherhood?
No, he's the holder of the seal.
Holder of the seal, yeah.
Yeah.
Which Saint Germain is a member of.
So he thought the society into being at Mount Shasta. Yeah. It's the ascended masters here on Earth are working very, very hard.
There are not many of them
to keep the balance going for us. So can I ask the next question, Jack? So moving on to community, how would you advise people to best serve the community in these troubled times?
using the skills that you possess. I mean, I, um, I'm thinking of people, that, for example, in natural disasters, and we just have this thing going on right now too in Hawaii, with a lot of this huge fires. They're not even sure how they spread, and I look at things like that, and I mean, over the years, I'm sure we've all seen natural disasters, and people are afraid, they're confused, they're devastated. And so on a collective level, we can identify with that. It's using spirit, what you've earned. I don't believe in gifts. I know some people over the years, people go, well, you're gifted, you're gifted. I never claimed that title. Never, never. There is humility that needs to go along with this work. But for the sake of our conversation, we can say the gifts that you have, whatever that might be. It might be you're a carpenter. You can help rebuild. It might be that you're a nurse. It might be that you are good with finance. It might be that you're good with counseling. So whatever you have, you can use it to benefit others. In my case, one of the things that I've done because of my passion for animals is to donate 100% of a group message program, mediumship program, to these little individual, in my hometown, shelters. And it feels really uplifting to be able to do that, you know. So it doesn't matter the form. It matters that you just use what you have. A Course in Miracles says, everything I give to myself. And so there's that circle of giving and receiving. So when you give from from an open heart, then it's multiplied many times, and it does return. That's not the reason to do it, but it's an extra benefit.
That's the law of karma. Yeah, you must receive. Yeah.
I just wanted to say this. I have had some extremely uncanny occurrences in my life that have happened with that. And I mean things that I absolutely do not even know how they happened. I gave money to somebody, and I don't mean just a couple dollars, a decent amount. And the next day I open up my savings account, and somehow this money appears, and I'm like, what the heck is going on with that? And it was some type of bonus program, but it was the exact amount that I had to this individual. And I mean, that happened a couple of times. It's just amazing. So yeah, the law of cause and effect, one of the natural laws, which I truly believe that true spiritual teachers teach using the natural laws, because they are the only real valid laws in the universe. Man-made law will always, natural law will always supersede man-made law. There are immutable principles that govern the consequences of human behavior. So I always tell people I do not have a religion. Although I respect religions, I don't trash them at all, or anybody who's working in the light. I live my life through natural laws. Do unto others. That way you don't incur karma.
It's karma and reincarnation. You can't separate the two, can you? And
No, you can't. You can't. I think if people really understood that when you take an action, that you're not doing that to somebody else, it's a negative. or hurtful action, that you're doing that to yourself.
Yeah.
But see, most people do not understand that because they're operating from duality. They're operating from the other. The other.
I think that's one of the most important things you're doing is lifting the veil of ignorance and this, because ignorance is the only crime on earth, we're told. It's the only possible crime. Everything arises from ignorance. And the masters say, for the death is an initiation. It's kind of promotion, isn't it? You go, and it's just basically moving from upstairs to downstairs, from downstairs to upstairs to downstairs. It's the life between lives. It's a continuation of consciousness, and with your work, because if you give someone healing, it's a wonderful thing. You help them for this life, and you should give healing. But if you give them knowledge, then that helps them in the next life, and the next life, and the next life, and raises all the boats.
I think that's the value of writing books. It's a lot of work. I'm quite honest again and truthful. And before I sat down with this new one, I was just thinking, do I really want to do that again? So much work. And then I know my own birth chart so intimately that I look at, okay, what's the nodal placement? This is what I said. This is what I signed up for. This is what I signed up for. So, I always tell people, do not quit your day job when you write a book, unless you're a national figure, because you're not going to earn money while you're doing it, or, probably thereafter, you're not going to earn a lot of money. But when I receive feedback, and this just happened to me yesterday, and I'm sure that both of you can understand this, when you have a complete stranger come to you and say, what you said, what you did, how you reached out to me, I held on to that. And it meant so much to me. It healed me. It helped me. And I'm even tearing up talking about it, because that's what this woman said to me on the passing of her beloved son from suicide. You cannot, that absolutely will be in my heart, what that individual said to me. You can't put a price ticket on that. You can't, it's just immeasurable.
Keep that one in the Akashic records then.
Yeah. Yes. Because, the interesting thing is too, when we're doing spiritual, when we're immersing ourselves in spirit in the moment without thought of return at all, we have no idea who we're going to touch, who we're going to reach, who's going to hear a podcast, who's going to read a book. We have no idea when we're in the middle of that. So that takes faith. That's a very high spiritual quality of faith and trust to be able, to from that standpoint.
I forget people are going to be listening to this conversation afterwards, because I'm enjoying it so much. It just feels like I'm chatting to you on Zoom, but if other people benefit, that's just a bonus.
Absolutely.
And I see that as serving the world. So that would be like the third part, the big question: how do you serve the world? Where you put the message out there in the best way you possibly can. Which is why I'm so blowing my own trumpet now, Deborah. It's why I'm sat here, not because I love technology, and not because I, feel that I'm going to be the next Sophia Loren. No. But I believe that to speak in this way, in this open manner, as we've had this conversation, and it goes out there onto our electronic ether, is the way that we actually serve the world. So I'm humbled that you shared today.
I look at technology as money. It can be used for evil. It can be used for good. And it's neutral. It's really neutral. but we have this amazing ability now to reach out to other countries, to get news in a second. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. But I believe that, the use of the internet with spirituality is something that can connect us with, I mean, it's limitless. Really, we can go all over the planet. Um, possibly to other planets. We don't know. Um, so yes, it's a great, you know, I don't know what I want to say, usefulness
Mm.
that we can make with this
This,
sort of thing.
this is our Bible in our Gita, the Nine Freedoms. It tells us what happens after enlightenment and
That's
cosmic consciousness, enlightenment and ascension. And we talked about bravery. Sorry, we talked about fear before, and that's the first freedom. And the second freedom is love, and the third freedom is service. And there's some great quotes in this. Service is the jewel in the rock of attainment. It is the great practice in these days. This declaration I do throw into every mental realm. I would inform those aspirants who in total disregard of human needs retreat into the wilderness. Come you hence, for you are fools. Service, my friends, is greatness. It's a great lecture about I'll send it to you after the podcast, but it's a wonderful dissertation on service.
Thank you. Yes, and I couldn't help but notice when you held the book up on the cover, the triangle. Very interesting. Many years ago, when I took intensive training at a place called Delphi, which is near Atlanta, Georgia. Here, I had what's called Intura artwork done, and it was from one of my teachers there. And she only had my name, did not know me personally. And she created this intuitive psychic artwork that the triangle it's yellow on this piece of artwork is very prominent. And there was a reading that went along with the artwork. And she said, "You are from the order of Melchizedek." And I said, "Okay." And I researched that. That's an order of priesthood, healers and teachers. And so when you held that up, I immediately resonated with that. And it's interesting that sometimes I've been doing readings with people, much more with life guidance types of readings. And I will see that yellow triangle over top of their head, clairvoyantly, of course. And so, that's
Wow,
an identification thing. Yeah.
finally needed.
Really, that goes back to I've had several incarnations in Egypt. So a couple of them were not good. Persecuted for being doing something with prophecy. I've done other lifetimes, so that I know for sure.
Well, it pattern repeats, doesn't it? We're on the same. I was probably doing a podcast in the last.
The soul does not lose anything. Nothing is lost at all. It's all carried in the Akashic. So, the pyramidal structure as well, is part of that with the triangle.
Well, the triangle is part of our symbol of our society. We have the AUM symbol and the triangle, and we're told that that Dr. King went 60 hours into Samadhi trance meditation and came out with that was the symbol for the society, and it had to be put atop of our holy crosses because that we were told by St. Peter that was to be the case. And the triangle is the most ancient symbol for wisdom. And and the AUM, of course, is the thing for everything. So it's what we were told. It's God working in love in action. So so the whole society is about working, God working, love in action. That's the
Yes.
Creation, preservation, transmutation is the three corners
Mm.
of the triangle. Yeah, the AUM.
But
The Trinity.
yeah, so the fact that you so resonate with the triangle, that is intrinsic part of who we are and what we believe in. It's that ancient truth of wisdom being love in action. Love in action being service, love being one of the pure natural, the purest natural energy, but can go on all sorts of octaves. So can hate being the opposite pole of it. But obviously we're striving to bring in the purest to raise the vibrations. See, I knew that we were vibrating at the same. I just knew it.
Yes, who knows? We might have known one another back in Egypt at some point.
Possibly. I haven't got any recall of that, but yeah.
Yeah. That came to me a long, long time ago. And it's interesting. I mentioned about that piece of intuitive artwork. Several years later, I have a person from around here. This was done from somebody near Atlanta, Georgia, that piece of artwork. Somebody around here where I live did a piece of artwork. It was totally different, but intuitive. She gives it to me. The identical figure, there was a figure of one of my spirit team guys on this piece of Ventura artwork, the first piece that I had done in Georgia. And the figure was holding over top of the heart and, the symbol of the heart, the outline of the heart. When I got this other piece, the very same figure showed up on this other piece of intuitive art, that these people did not know one another, no connection whatsoever. It just really was astonishing, that similarity.
We do get a confirmation, don't we, when we need it? It comes in, just got to be aware of it. And
absolutely
grateful when it does, when the dots do join.
Well, this has been I think we have to wrap it up, but this has been a wonderful interview and wonderful conversation. Thanks so much, Carol. And people can follow you on soulvisions.net. Is that your website?
Yeah, my website is soulvisions.net. Also, I teach spiritual webinars as well, mediumship training. I have the Akashic Files coming up. I list all of those on facebook.com/soul medium. The word soul plus the word medium. And that's my professional Facebook page. I list all my things on there.
There's a very active community on there, isn't that right? Yeah.
Pardon me?
You have an active community of people as well. And
yeah, I forget how many so-called followers. I don't like that word, but how many people have liked the page. But that's where I post everything, and I am very active in the fall and winter, teaching through Zoom to help people.
Wonderful. People can sign up on your website, and this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. If people are interested in the Aetherius Society, they can check aetherius.org. I should just mention that link as well, so they can research. Anything else, Deborah? Did I forget anything?
No, well, you probably did, but I've forgotten to.
And when the new book is out, you must come back on, please, Carol, and we'll talk more about service.
And could we stay on for a second afterwards?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. We'll stop the recording. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. See you next time.